we started the group with a little bit of a saying from the Dalai Lama, contributed by Reverend Randy. Learn all the rules so you can break them correctly. And I think that's really important. And one thing we are talking about is sort of Parliament and procedure and Robert's Rules of Order, and how some of the greats like Harry Britt and John Burton and etc. that were able to sort of get access to mainstream politics is because they knew the rules and they knew when they were being screwed by the rules. So the first thing that you usually do at any type of caucus meeting or anything like that, and first let me say, this is a Harvey Milk Cannabis Caucus, so I'd like to allot 10 minutes to each of these and let me go over them. I wanted to go over the June ballot measure changes as a first agenda item. The second is lowest priority, and that might even just be 5 minutes of letting people know that we need to be in attendance of that as the Harvey Milk Cannabis Caucus, because the Harvey Milk Cannabis Caucus covers all cannabis issues. It's not just a medical cannabis caucus. It's a cannabis caucus about all cannabis issues. And then the third is the club that is the cannabis club that's trying to open in the sunset, and what we can do to be a part of that ongoing campaign, because the poor folks are in Carmen Chu's district.
We had to sit around for 45 minutes when Carmen Chu sent one of her representatives to the task force meeting talking about all this crap.
Yeah.
Over the one
club that's trying to open in the sunset. Does anybody know how many clubs we have in the sunset?
Zero.
Right, so I'm going to hit it in with the first agenda item, which is the June ballot measure. I'm going to try to give the best history of this that I can. How many people were here for the Black and Brown Just Policy event? All right, quite a few people were here. And what's going on is that we have two supervisors interested in putting a cannabis initiative on the June ballot. And the June ballot measure that is being proposed is a policy statement. So I'm going to just explain, because I didn't know before I started studying this. I had no idea what the difference between a policy statement was and a law and or ordinance. I had no idea. Right?
Yeah.
You know when I learned?
What?
During Prop S. A lot of people thought that Prop S, which was sponsored by Mark Leno, and it was simply worded, should the city grow? A lot of patients actually thought that the city was going to start growing and the cost of the medicine would come down, and it gave a lot of power to politicians, right? Because there's a lot of name flair going on when you put on a ballot measure. That was a policy statement. It wasn't, here's the difference of words, should and shall.
Right.
Should is like, hey,
you want to do this?
You know, we could do this. It would be kind of fun.
What do you think?
Shall is constructive.
Right.
It's forward going. It's saying we're going to do this. What's being proposed for June is, in actuality, a policy statement. And the first reading of it, there were a couple different stages where members of our caucus and members of Access of Love and members of the greater cannabis community were involved. The very first meeting I had with Supervisor Mercarini about the issue was with Shamari Clark and Gregory Ledbetter. Shamari Clark being a spokesperson and being the voting member of the Cannabis Working Group for Harvey Milk Cannabis Caucus, that guy right there, Shamari, so for folks to know. And of course Gregory Ledbetter from Black and Brown Just Policy and from Access of Love and Anti-Displacement Caucus of Harvey Milk. And what the supervisor was interested in, and guys, watch the time for me, because I need to learn to do things concisely too, was, what about a tax measure, kind of like what Oakland's doing? And we're like, you know, the first thing that we thought of is you got to do that on a tiered level. Oakland has 4 dispensaries that are basically like Walmart, Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's. Okay? They are huge multi-million-dollar corporations. San Francisco has 23 medical cannabis dispensaries that are permitted. There's no way that we could have a tax at the same level. So our first thing to block was to say, hey, it's got to be tiered, and that what we came up with, me, Shamari, and Greg talked about it, and what we liked was having a very small tax, if there was going to be a tax, and to have that tax earmarked to restore HIV services in the city of San Francisco. And the supervisor smiled. Ross was into humanitarian efforts like that. He gets it, right? He was like, yeah. He was happy about that concept. We never want to have the politicians in complete control of our taxes. We want our taxes to go to construct things that are harm reduction focused, that are peace focused. We don't want our money to just give it over to the government, right? Because we're a compassion movement, very different than the cannabis movement across the Bay. The cannabis movement across the Bay is very commercialized and etc., which is also good, but what we're doing right here, our experiment right here, is to prove that compassionate care can work, and that there's another way to do this, and there's another way to redistribute cannabis wealth that can help everyone in the community. And the first one read like this, and then I'll read the second one that came out at rules. The first one read, the people of the city and county of San Francisco declare that it shall be official policy of the city and county of San Francisco that the city shall license, regulate, and tax the cultivation and sale of cannabis for use by adults, requiring compliance with appropriate zoning, building, electrical, public health standards, and strict adherence to state laws, including prohibitions against smoking cannabis in public spaces in the presence of minors. This is actually the second rendition. The first rendition that was out made a difference between the taxing of non-medical. So when we get into this one, listen very carefully. It shall be the official policy of the city and county of San Francisco that the city shall license, regulate, and tax the cultivation and sale of cannabis for use by adults. Is there anyone in this room that's a minor?
No.
Okay, then you're taxed.